Hi, welcome to episode 3 of Cracking the Codex for Dark Angels. This week we're looking at the Unforgiven Task Force. This is the green wing, as it were, of Dark Angels. How are you feeling about this one, John?
So, when it was the index detachment that you could take, I looked at it. I wasn't enthused by it. I went Gladius. Let's see. Maybe there's some very subtle changes to it that we'll drill into, but I'm not sure they're necessarily worth my. Well, I say worth my attention. More getting me excited enough to try it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it does much competitively that other detachments the Space Marines can do that makes me go, I want to take this to a tournament. I think if you like playing Dark Angels and you want to play just a pure codex, you want to stick with the rules in there, and you want to play a mixed combined arms list, I think this is a fine way to go. So let's drill into it. So we have got the Unforgiven Task Force. As always, as a Space Marine, you get the Oath of Moment. You get to pick one unit in your command phase, and until the start of your next command phase, you get to reroll all hits against that unit in your opponent's turn as well. Great ability to have. You also have, moving on, the Unforgiven. Basically, what this means is you're playing a Dark Angels detachment. You can't put Ultramarines in here, you can't put Blood Angels in here. You've got to stick purely to Dark Angels, as you'd expect. The detachment rule is Grim Resolve. This is less impactful, I think it's fair to say, than some of the other ones we've seen. But the way it works is if one of your Adeptus Astartes units is battle shocked, instead of changing the OC of that unit to 0, change it to 1. This does happen before any modifiers. So if you have, for example, an Ancient in the squad, you can be battle shocked, go to 1, Ancient adds an additional 1, and all the models in your unit are OC2, which is something. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm never a big fan. I feel like this is a broken record on Cracking the Codex, where I go, I'm never a fan of an ability that only happens if something bad has already happened. And like, if I'm battle shocked, I can't be using strats, I can't be using my tricks, and then I just don't know. It's cool, but the amount of times I've actually been battle shocked in the last 6 months of playing 40k is I probably count it on one hand.
You haven't played many
I'm not
games
jazzed.
then.
No, but when the 3 games I've played into NIDS, one of them I failed one battle shot that actually mattered.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like if my entire army revolves around that happening and it's something I can't force on myself, a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. There is the funny meme of you can have a plane that fails its battle shock and suddenly you've got a plane that's OC1. So that's fun. If you're looking to do stupid stuff with your mates, this is a fun one to do. Take as many planes as possible, try and get them battle shocked. But what do you get outside of this perhaps lackluster detachment? You get enhancements. First of all, Shroud of Heroes. 25 points on a 2+. When you die, you get back up. If the bearer was battle shocked when it's destroyed, it's returned with full wounds instead of 3 remaining. It's fine. Stand up
cute.
on death. Yeah, I don't feel like Marines massively want to leverage this. Maybe you put it on, I guess, a character leading a small squad, well, a squad of 5 Deathwing Knights, because they can only go to 5s. Maybe there's some play with that, and you can do something and you can make it very awkward for your opponent to deal with you, but it's quite pricey for that. I'm not jazzed about this one. I think I'd only put it in if I've taken the 2 enhancements I like from the detachment and I have 25 points remaining, which I think I'd rather go back and rework the list personally. Then we've got Weapon of the First Legion, 15 points. This is one I am quite jazzed about. In the index, it was 20 points. It used to be called Heavenfall Blade. It's now 5 points less. The rules are exactly the same. And you get +1 to your attack, strength, and damage. And if you're battle shocked, +2 to your attack, strength, and damage. Basically, just ignore the second sentence. You're looking at this and going, do I want to have a model that has +1 attack, +1 strength, and +1 damage? I do. I like that. I think that's solid to put, at 15 points. I quite like that on a jump pack captain with a fist. 6 attacks at strength 9, AP2, 3 damage. That's respectable. Do you think you'd put that in your lists?
I think so. Like you just said that.
Yeah.
And there's the odd opportunity where you go, which characters would I like it on? And generally, they're all kind of all right combat-wise anyway. So just giving them
Yeah.
damage 3 fists, or something like a thunder hammer. Even it's not bad.
Yeah, the thing I like the most about this is you can get a lot of damage 2 on your characters.
Yeah.
So being able to get a mobile character that has damage 3 is feels like it's
I,
valuable.
I miss damage 3.
We'll move on. We've also got Stubborn Tenacity. 20 points. When the bear is leading a unit, if they're below starting strength, add 1 to hit, and if they're battle shocked and below starting strength, add 1 to wound. This is unfortunately one of the worst versions of this rule. So it's normally +1 if you're +1 to hit if you're below starting strength, +1 to wound if you're below half strength. At that point, it's not good, but at least reasonably that's going to happen in your games. Being battle shocked, giving you +1 to wound, you also, the way it's written, you have to be below starting strength and battle shocked to get the +1 to
Yeah.
wound. There are too many hoops to jump through here. It's not good. Moving on.
Shame.
We do have one here that I quite like, though. So this is Ancient Model. When the bear is leading a unit, they get Feel No Pain 6+. They get a 4+ if you're battle shocked, but realistically, that's not going to come up. However, if you're taking, let's say, Terminators with Thunderhammers, 4 wounds, a 6-up Feel No Pain, that makes them surprisingly frustrating to kill. How do you feel about this?
I think when paired with potentially a stratagem as well, you can make them a pain in the arse to linger around, which is nice.
Yeah.
And then people maybe have to commit a bit too much of their kind of resources to deal with them. It's probably not quite to the same extreme as the Deathwing Knights of old,
Yeah.
but still pretty annoying.
I think it means you can have one squad that kind of mimics the tankiness of the
Yeah.
Deathwing Knights. And it's not quite there, but it's in a similar sort of ballpark. That 6-up Feel No Pain is going to be frustrating to deal with. Damage 2 weapons become very inefficient into 4 wounds, because if you're taking 4 6-ups, you're almost guaranteed, not almost guaranteed, but you're far more likely to make one of those than
Yeah.
kill them all. So it'll definitely add up. And to be fair, if your opponents bring any sort of gimmick, I know people are starting to run, for example, I believe it's Psychomancers and Necrons, little tech pieces that you can force battle shocks on your opponent's big Death Star units to stop them from using defensive strats. In this case, that's better. I'm not expecting it to be used, but if your opponent does have any battle shock gimmicks, this is probably the unit they want to use them on, so maybe it dissuades them from doing it there. Although I'm not sure anyone's going to battle shock you if you're playing this detachment with how the base rules of it work. So moving on, a couple of stratagems. The stratagems in this one are pretty okay, I think. 4 battle tactics, which is a pretty good place to be in for Space Marines if you're looking at running captains. I found when I'm writing Space Marine lists, I don't tend to put captains in, which is interesting. So maybe battle tactics is more of a hindrance, but you can absolutely, put a battle tactic in here and there. Starting off, we've got Armor of Contempt. You know it, you love it. Incoming attacks for that phase, -1 armor penetration. It's, you just -1 AP to all incoming
Solid.
attacks. So, yeah. You know it. It's great. You're going to be slamming it defensively. This is probably the biggest reason to take a captain. Put it in a brick of Terminators potentially. Just get a free Armor of Contempt once per turn. Make them hard to shift. It's very nice. Then we've got Unforgiven Fury. So Unforgiven Fury is you select it in your shooting phase or in the fight phase, and you select a unit and you get lethal hits on all of your attacks from that unit. There is
Yep.
also a rider. If one of the units in your army, one Adeptus Astartes unit in your army, is battle shocked, you get crit hits on a 5. We're going to ignore that line because I feel like that's not really going to be relevant at the times that you're wanting to use this. But lethal hits on a stick.
But it's also not the unit that you're giving has that. So you could
Yes,
be benefiting from it and someone else is battle shocked. So
it is a
it's
little
not
more flexible.
Yeah, it's a little bit more.
It's one of those where I go, would I pay 1 CP for lethal hits? Situationally, yes. Does it have a conditional benefit that sure is unlikely to come up, but if it does, are you happy? Yeah, cool. Sometimes 1 in 5, 1 in 6 games, maybe you slap that down and go, oh wait, hold on, I'm lethal hits on 5s, and that's my Oath of Moment target. Suddenly, rerolling everything, fishing for lethal hits, that Catan's going to take some real pain. But I think I'm taking it and evaluating it purely on the lethal hits for 1 CP.
I think you have to.
Yeah, I think it's solid. It's fine.
Yeah.
Moving on, we've got Fire Discipline. Now, this is a stratagem that I quite like. So, your shooting phase, you select one unit that hasn't shot yet, and ranged weapons get Assault Heavy and ignores cover. This is
Nice.
versatile. It has all of the keywords you want in the shooting phase. Well, not dead ones, but you know. So, Assault, you can put this on a unit that you want to advance and shoot. You can put this on a unit you want to advance and do an action. That is typically where I value Assault the most. Heavy, if you've got some sort of long range bombardment tool, cough cough whirlwinds. Suddenly, you're getting that plus one to
Yep.
hit. Sorry, and then also ignores cover. Again, if you're looking at a whirlwind in this detachment, you can be hitting on twos and ignoring the cover that they get for shooting out of line of sight. So I think this is one that you are pretty happy to slam most shooting phases if you're trying to clear out something like scouts behind enemy objectives, mid-board objectives, clearing out the terrain as well. Then we have got Unbreakable Lines. This is the only stratagem that's changed from the index. It is 2 CP, and in your opponent's charge phase, after an opponent's made a charge move, so after they've rolled and made their charge, but before they go to the fight phase, you spend 2 CP, and all attacks targeting the unit that has been charged are -1 to wound. This is very expensive for what it is. I don't love it. I resent paying rate for this. I don't think I ever want to pay 2 CP. It does open up the conversation about whether I put a captain in a squad of
Yeah.
Terminators, and
Agreed.
you put them in the middle of the board, and you say, look, I'm going to Unbreakable Lines for free. I'm going to spend a CP to Armor of Contempt. Maybe I've got the 4-up field, but feel no pain in there. I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. Sure.
I have a theory that when
Uh-huh.
they tested it, it was 1 CP, and
Yep.
at the same time, Deathwing Knights could go into units of 10,
Yeah.
and it got put up, they got put down, and then they weren't necessarily checked again. That's how it feels to me. Like, that as a combination would have been obnoxious, and maybe that's why it's the way it is. But
Yeah.
just theory.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I can see
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, sure. Good to have in your back pocket. Maybe that one game when you come up against World Eaters and they only get one of their charges off into a key unit, and you're like, oh, well, if I use this stratagem, maybe that I survive and I strike back. But
Yeah.
at 2 CP, it's pretty pricey. Moving on to our other two stratagems, these ones are not battle tactics. We have got Irretractable. Movement phase, after one of your Adeptus Astartes units falls back, you get fallback, shoot, and charge. This is good. Where does this go? This goes on your Redemptors. What is the biggest weakness of Redemptors? Being tied up in combat with things that they can't reasonably kill. Now you can do things with them. I think this is a very good strat. I think this is maybe the reason to be in this detachment. Other detachments have this ability. Don't worry about it. If you're looking for a pure Dark Angels faction that lets you fall back and shoot and charge your Redemptors, this is the one for you. Don't look too closely in the book in case there's anything else that lets you do similar. It's good.
Stormlance?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Shh.
Yeah,
Got Stormlance at home.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Stormlance at home. Yeah, jokes aside, this is good. It's
Yeah.
legitimately a good stratagem to have. It's just nice. Being able to get every part of your use out of an expensive model in the Redemptor Dreadnought
Yeah.
is very valuable. And then finally, Grim Retribution. This is also a legitimately good stratagem. So this is in your opponent's shooting phase. After an enemy unit has shot, you have to have a unit that has had one or more models destroyed. So you can't be using this on, for example, a Lancer or shooting phase, but it must target the enemy unit that just attacked it and can only do so if that enemy unit is an eligible target. Where does this go, John? Tell me.
So to me, I have this thing where I really like Hellblasters, and I think I could have Hellblasters shoot twice if they're overcharging, dying, and then shooting, and then dying, and then yeah, you get double value out of a unit that they're probably trying to clear, right?
Absolutely. Asriel leading a unit of Hellblasters makes them reasonably tanky with the 4-up invuln. You can dissuade your opponent from shooting you because if you do, you'll shoot back and potentially smoke something. Yeah, I think it's solid. It means that you're going to be getting maximum value out of that one unit of Hellblasters that you walk up the board with Asriel. It's good. You got the
Solid.
CP to use it as well.
Because he gives you
Asriel's
that
good.
one, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so stratagem's not bad actually. I think there's no advance and charge. That's the sort of elephant in the room. But it is. I think there's a solid list of stratagems here to give you some technical flexibility. What did we come up with? Well, it was very easy to just go, let's play Marine good stuff. We did try and give it a little bit of what this detachment does better than anything else. So, top to bottom, got Azrael leading the Hellblaster squad. Going to walk up the board, gives them a 4-up invuln, gives them sustained hits, just makes them get a lot more value out of that unit. You've got an Ancient Interminator armor with the Penitent of Remembrance for a 6-up Feel No Pain. Goes with the the Thunder Hammer Terminators. Again, you're just looking to make a very tanky unit there, sort of your faux Deathwing Knights. We've got a Captain with Jump Pack, Weapon of the First Legion, putting him up to, I think it's 5 attacks. Is it 5 attacks or 6 attacks? Sorry, at Strength 9, AP 2, flat 3 damage with his fist. It's not bad. He's going to be leading one of the Assault Intercessors with Jump Pack. Means you can do a surprising amount of damage to your opponent's sort of mid. Or you're expecting to see a lot of Marine equivalents or maybe even Custodes in the midboard. So flat 3 damage is quite nice. And then we've got a Tech Marine who stands next to a Whirlwind. We'll come back to that in a second. Other than that, there's the aforementioned Hellblasters, 2 units total of Assault Intercessors, single Infiltrator squad. I think that's very valuable at the moment. My intention is not to let my opponent deep strike a monolith 3 inches into my deployment zone. It has now happened to me, which is very funny. I'd left my deployment zone entirely, but still, there's a little bit of an emotional scar there. 2 units of scouts, just great. It went up 10 points. They're still probably too cheap. I'd take them at 75. 80 might be pushing it. They're just very good. 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, really the sort of big hammer of the list, while your Terminators are the anvil. And then we've got the Whirlwind. What this list does better than anything apart from Ironstorm, but you might not be playing Ironstorm because you find it dull, or you want to play pure Dark Angels, or you want to go for a mixed wing, whatever reason. Because the Tech Marine stands next to the Whirlwind, that gets it back to hitting on 3s. And then you can spend a CP for the Fire Discipline, which gets it to hitting on 2s. You can threaten enemy scout squads, any 5-man unit really that stands behind terrain that doesn't want to get shot by whirlwinds that are hitting on 2s and ignoring cover with AP2. I think this is one of the big draws to the detachment. It is pricey, 235 points for this little gimmick. Before the points nerfs, you could have taken 2 whirlwinds for not many more points. But I think it's something that the detachment does better than most other detachments, so it's interesting to see that in there. What are your thoughts on this one, John?
So what I like is something, for example, you're going into almost a mirror match where you're against things like Redemptors, trying to pick up a 2-up high toughness vehicle that's in cover. Those Hellblasters, Fire Discipline, boom, gives you some good chance to actually deal with that without having to be bringing out all the las cannons and stuff. So it gives you some flexibility, which I kind of like. It's not the perfect solution, but it's an option.
You can snap hits on them with Unforgiven Fury as well. Oath a Moment Fish for those lethal hits if you really want to try and...
And then they're sustained because of Azrael, so you're giving yourself an opportunity that you can just take something down as well. So although there's that nicety with the Tech Marine and the Whirlwind, the strats have other uses. It's not just like when you're playing something like Ironstorm, where you're like, cool, this strat's going on that unit every turn, and it's just like, cool, the list's playing itself. This, I think there is something you can be done with it, and there is probably some other ways to play thematic lists using the detachment as well, but I like the fact that we've got some kind of bits that you'd see in most Dark Angels lists without feeling you're handicapping yourself, because if you took things like the bikes, maybe you could put something like a Dark Shroud in, but I don't think you necessarily benefit from it as much as you would in other detachments.
Yeah.
But I think it does a good job.
I think it's people as good as you're going to get with a detachment.
Yeah. Right? I think with a lot of reps and good player skill expression, the detachment can do well. Mm-hmm. But I feel your average 3 and 2 player, like myself, will have a suboptimum event if they took it to an event.
Yeah, I think when we were looking at sort of whether anyone was able to take this list, pilot it, and do well at GTs, what we found were there were a couple of names who were quite good, but if we think about it realistically, they'd probably be placing higher if they were just running similar models in Gladius. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is a slight shame, not to discount it, but at the same time, you've got to play with the rule set you've been given. You never know.
Well, that's the thing, John. You don't. You can instead play Stormlance or Gladius.
No, but that's my point. It's like if you want to play what's in your codex, great.
Yeah.
Expect the results that you're going to get. But if you do really want to kind of try your hardest to succeed, sometimes you have to compromise in that respect. And that's the thing I think a lot of people are going to have to learn with these detachments is sometimes there's winners and losers, and it's a shame. But at the same time, you never know. They might adjust the rules down the line as well. So there might be things like that do get tweaked with balanced data slates because you never say never. Like they have adjusted things quite heavily for indexes. So down the line, this might get a kind of a refresh. 18 months down the line, they might go, right, let's give them a bit of a nudge back up again because maybe at that point we're not seeing Dark Angels everywhere.
Thanks for watching. As always, we will be back next week, but we have run out of fresh Codex content, so we'll put a poll. Yeah, y'all got any more of those rules for us? So we will put a poll up. We will be doing either one of the remaining Necron detachments. I think there's a lot of fun stuff left in there for us to break down. We could go back and look at one of the Tyrannid detachments because we didn't get very far through those, or we could look at the Sky Splinter detachment if you're interested in hearing our thoughts on that one. That'll be up in the next couple of days. Do vote on that one if you've got interest in seeing it. Lists, as always, will be on our Discord. Links are in the bio below. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.